Coming soon to theaters. Podcasts, film reviews, and so much more. Available at tristanmiller.substack.com.
And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Focus Testing, a podcast where we make a movie and about movies. My name is Tristan Miller, and joining me today from beautiful Aotearoa, New Zealand, Joel Vinsen. How are you, Joel?
I'm very well, thanks.
Oh,
So
good.
Saturday morning, I've just had brunch, had a sleep in,
Yeah,
vaping on the couch.
nice. That's a pretty good day, I'd reckon.
Yeah,
Like-
it's just 10 out of 10 so far.
Yeah. What did you have for brunch?
I had some toast with avocado and smoked salmon.
Oh,
Put a bit of lemon juice on it and stuff. Yeah.
that sounds really good. Do you have would you recommend the restaurant?
Oh, it was my kitchen, so I definitely wouldn't recommend it.
So, okay. I think there's a cultural difference here. Because when you say brunch, it's always out to brunch. We know that's very good.
No, brunch is just sort of code for like I was too idle to get up early enough to have breakfast.
That's fair enough, that's very good. So this is a podcast about movies. Do you remember the first movie you saw in the cinema?
Oh, I can't remember the very first one I saw. I would have been 6 or 7, I think.
Mhm.
But some that stand out to me are my like grandma, who was like 80 something at the time, took me to see Face Off in Australia,
Excellent.
which is great. She's like very quite like kind of straight up and down conservative Australian lady, but like seemed to give less was less worried about violence in movies than my parents were, so that was nice. And Rumble in the Bronx was an early one.
Rumble in the Bronx. I know that title.
Like
What is that?
Jackie Chan film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
some
excellent.
great stunts in it. Yeah. And, I think those were the two that I always think of. Although I had seen a bunch when I was younger. But,
Were movies like at all a staple growing up for you?
yeah, I loved going to the pictures. I'd probably go, I don't know, like once a fortnight or something. I still love going to the movies, to be honest. I just kind of don't make enough time for it at the moment and do it from home sometimes. But my favorite is if I'm not, if I have like a day off, trying to go see a horror movie like early in the morning and try and be the only person in the cinema.
Oh, yeah?
Which has never quite panned out, but I've had like maybe one other person, and it just makes it way scarier. So.
Oh, sure, yeah, because you don't have idle chatter and you're just like really focused. Oh, that would be really good.
Yeah, it's just like you and the void, and then a screen with like some like demon or something on it.
You and the Void in a Screen would be an excellent name for a book about film.
Yeah.
That's very... So Face Off, I have not seen. I've been told to see it a bunch. Heaps.
Oh, it's great. I really rate it. It's like just a kind of great like Nicolas Cage, John Travolta old film. And there's just an excellent line where he's like let's take his face off. Just great. And it was around the same time as Con Air, so I had a choice between Con Air and that. I think they're both equally as great as each other, but I probably have more nostalgia value attached to Facebook. But.
That's fair enough. I have an ongoing bit with a friend of mine about Con Air where I've yet to see it, and he was like recommending it to me every day because he used to be my boss at work. And then I was like, whatever. And then he bought me the DVD, and so I have the DVD right over there, but I still have yet to see it.
Oh, dude, you're in for a trashy 90s treat, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. I ought to do it, and then I'll have to like send him an apology letter.
Do a double feature with Face Off and Con Air. They came out around the same time.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. That would be very, very good.
It's a cool concept because it's like they basically swap like bodies effectively, right? So you get to see both of the actors playing the villain and the hero, and they're both they were both great villains. They both did a great job of being villains. Which to me is always the more interesting archetype. Is that the right word? Like, it's the more interesting of the two.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, because like everyone kind of understands why you would want to be, want to do good and help people, because I think that's generally people's nature, despite what the Christians say. But, but yeah, so it is like why would you ever actually like make a bomb or whatever? But I have some movie trivia for you. Actually, before I do that, you mentioned horror films. Are you a horror film fan?
Yeah, I love horror films. I mean, I love a whole lot of like subcategories of films, like shark movies, and zombie movies, and pandemic movies, and but
Shark movies?
I yeah, I love like a good trashy shark film.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What one would you recommend most?
Oh, I'd recommend like, can I do a little spoiler,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
people could like, yeah, because this is just one of my favorite scenes. I think it's called Deep Blue Sea, and it's like hyper intelligent sharks that they've engineered and they've escaped, and they're trying to like, and there's this great like scene where Samuel L. Jackson, prior to his character in the movie, maybe 20 years before, I think the story is he was trapped on an island or a mountain with some people, and
Mhm.
he's just gonna confess that they did something horrific. Maybe they ate someone else in the team, and before he can confess, the shark jumps out of the water and eats him, and it's just the greatest,
That's
funniest like shark movie scene.
that's so good. And I suppose throughout the entire film, they've really been
Mm.
building this atrocity that he's done, eh?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's gonna do this big monologue, and he's gonna confess to something, and the shark's just like, and gets him. It's just great comic timing. Horror movie, like, well, this is not a horror movie, but like horror movies and comedy, there's a lot involved, like a lot of similarities, like tension and release,
Yeah. Yeah.
timing. I love a good trashy horror film. I'm not a big gore fiend.
Mm,
I like more like, it's a weird thing to say, right? But like fun horror, like It Follows or maybe The Black Phone. It's like
mhm,
atrocious, but it's, slick and nice. And I also I really like Midsomner.
mhm,
Midsomner.
mhm.
Hereditary was a bit too much for me. It was probably the best movie I saw that year, but I found it pretty hard going.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
will rewatch it again at some point. And I really like
Mhm.
The Witch with
Ah,
two
yes.
V's.
The
Great film.
Vivitch.
And The Witch, yeah.
The Vivitch.
All those sort of films.
Yeah, I'm big. I've only seen out of the last three you mentioned. I've been meaning to watch the other two, but I saw Midsummer and I really enjoyed that. Big ups. Big fans of Florence Pugh over here.
Oh man, I think if I had to pick two horror movies recently, that would have been up there, but then it's been surpassed by Barbarian, which is, I reckon, one of my top favorite films
Very,
ever,
very good movie.
and Speak No Evil, which I'd recommend everybody watch. Leave some time afterwards to have a hug or go to the park, maybe do it in the daytime.
Mm,
But it's like something that I wish I'd seen as a 16-year-old, actually, because it's very much about when being polite actually becomes a problem. They're not setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. A great
hmm
film. I think it's a Danish film.
Let's see no evil.
Speak No Evil.
Speak no evil. Okay.
It's like the most terrifying film you could watch without actually having much like visceral kind of
hmm
violence in it. I think there's two violent scenes in it that are quite brief.
Okay. I'll
Just yeah, terrifying.
have to log that in. We're trying to remember to watch it. Um. So trivia, movie trivia. First question,
Mm.
as always, to everybody. Every guest gets two questions that are the same. The first one is, what is movie?
What is movie?
Yes. What is movie?
It's like a very fast moving picture book
Very.
with sound.
That's a very. I
Like if
know
you'd have hold the right key on the Facebook photo album while the sound. Yeah.
that's that's very good.
When you're too
Oh,
lazy to make a flip book, so you just let the computer do it.
when you said
Yeah,
fast moving, I know that like you meant like flipping it, but I like the idea of
yeah,
it like walking really quickly.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's the Usain Bolt of
That's right. Yeah, it's like it's Usain Bolt reading speed.
yep. Very good.
Which is, I mean, if you speed any sound, like if you recorded any static rhythm, like a page
Mm,
flipping, and then speed it up, it'll eventually make a pitch. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you could read a book fast enough to speak, I don't think anyone's ever been able to do it.
hmm. That's a crazy concept. Sorry, I just like
Yeah,
let
it's
that
sure got
wash
weird, man.
over
Yeah,
me. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
huh, that's interesting to think about. Ooh. I like that where your mind's at. This next one I think is appropriate for the conversation we just had, which is which horror characters should face off, like fight.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I mean, a good concept.
yeah. Like Freddy and Jason, but don't pick those two because
I've
it's
really
already
no,
very
no.
successful.
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna say Black Phillip, the goat from The Witch, because he's iconic. In goat, not devil form. I think he was scarier pre-change, to be honest. Um, Black Phillip is pretty iconic, and who's another great horror film? Maybe like Black Phillip versus the guy from Psycho. Oh no, actually no, I'm gonna hold that. Black Phillip versus I can't remember his name. The guy from The Shining,
Oh,
Jack
Jack
Nicholson's
Torrance.
Shining. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Jack Torrance. Yeah,
I love that as a concept. This goat's
imagine.
driving me nuts.
Yeah,
I can't
Black Phillip
stand him.
and Jack Torrance in the hotel. Perhaps maybe that'd be a good film.
The goat's running amok. I
Yeah.
can't deal. I
Or
love the
maybe
idea.
what's a real fast movie character? Sorry, go on.
I love the idea of it's just a goat and some guy, and this is the big. And it's so funny as a concept.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that goat is just it's a goat of darkness. It's an evil goat,
evil goat, evil goat.
It's
It's
scarier if you can't see its final form, because like
mm,
in The Shining, like he's. I mean, I guess you see the progression, but
mhm.
when something's malevolent, it's not turning, but it's still malevolent, but it hasn't physically changed yet. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, I think so too because it looks normal, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Mm.
But I love the idea of like it's just I don't know. I like the idea of the big bad being a goat, and that makes me want to see the Vivitch.
Yeah,
What
Vavitch.
Vivitch? What do you reckon is the best cinema snack?
Oh man, personally, I'm a fan of peanuts.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you can't buy them at the cinema, but like I like, you can get those little cans of peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
I love peanuts. Yeah, well, any sort of like almonds would be good, but peanut. I'm gonna go with peanuts. Um, but I mean, if you're buying stuff from the cinema itself, like popcorn is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
I like just if I was gonna eat popcorn, I like the classic kind of like butter salted popcorn, not
Mm-hmm.
not so much the caramel or whatever for my taste.
Yeah, we don't so I went to the cinema a couple times when I was visiting, and we don't really go as full on with the, like, different kinds of shakers you guys do.
Ah, right.
Yeah, we just, like you basically get just butter and popcorn. I was like, "There's, like, again, caramel here." I'm like, "What the hell are" That's
Oh,
so fun.
really? So
Yeah.
we won up to America on candy on one thing. Far out.
Um, I mean, if
It's
you
not
go
quality popcorn, but
I mean, if you go to, I think, a big chain, they might like an AMC was a big chain here, and they might have that. It was big for a minute, and then everyone was like, "This is too much of a hassle."
mm.
Um, we are more lazy than we like candy, I think, is the main takeaway here.
it's a it's a good health plan, eh? You
Yeah, it's like
just
a
yeah.
very much a Homer Simpson problem. Like, I want the food, but I don't wanna get up. What's a boy to do?
Yeah, I mean, this. You just hope that like the cross of your laziness and like ability to eat like sort of hits the apex somewhere before the heart
Mhm.
attack, I guess. Eh?
I suppose, yeah. Um, Speaking of villains earlier, what movie do you think is the most likable villain?
Oh, good question. Uh, I mean, it's not a horror, but maybe like Batman or something.
Yeah. You
Maybe that's because all
consider
the Batmans annoy me. But I quite like the Joker. But oh man, what's the film
why
with the
do
most likable villain?
yeah, why do the Batmans annoy you? Because he's a rich
I don't
white
know
guy
what it
beating up
is.
mentally ill
I
people,
mean,
or
I feel like that. Like, I'd like to jump on board that and say that's why, but I feel like he annoyed me before that.
okay.
Before I had an actual ethical reason, I'm not sure. Like, it's a good concept, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Um, or maybe I used to like it and I've just changed it retrospectively. Who knows? But
Mhm.
who's the most likable man? I don't know. That's I'd have to think. Is The Walking Dead a horror?
Well, it doesn't need to be a horror picture, it's just a
Yeah,
likable villain. Could be anything.
maybe like Negan's quite likable, eh?
Who?
In some way, Negan is like a big one of the big bads in The Walking Dead.
Ah, okay. Unfortunately.
He's funny. He's funny. You can get away with like murder if you're funny, pretty much, eh?
Yeah, that's the
Mm.
plan.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I'd have to really think of that. Who's your
Okay.
most likable villain?
Oh, likable, I would probably say, Adolf Hitler and Jojo Rabbit. I think
Yeah, it's a good call. Yeah,
I probably would go with, Hitler.
yeah,
No,
friendly Hitler. Yeah.
yeah. What's well, I got do you remember your first character crush? Like, you went to a movie and you're like, "Oh my god, this person."
maybe I remember seeing like Clerks 2 when it came out and thinking Rosaria Dawson was just gorgeous.
She is and remains
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. Not sure. It's a good question.
Hmm. Do you
Gonna go with that one.
you're gonna go with that one? Have you been
Yeah.
watching the Ahsoka series?
No, I haven't seen the Ahsoka series.
She's pretty good. She's pretty good in it,
Mm.
and she's pretty hot as as an alien lady.
Oh man, even better. Great. Yeah.
Can I tell you, anytime there's some sort of beautiful woman and they put a bunch of like makeup on to make her look like an alien, I'm like, for whatever reason, this is what it is for me. Like every time
Yeah.
I see Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, both they're great. Way to go. Maybe it's
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
otherworldliness of it, or oh, I don't know. I probably should
Well,
have
it's also
confessed that on mic, but
it's ethical gold digging, right? Because you're maybe trying to like better your situation by potentially like going to Mars or something, but then there's also one less person on the planet, so it's kind of like a far
mm,
less.
true, 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 true. Um, Final question, as always: why is Austin Powers so sexy? Do you think?
Why is Austin Powers so sexy? Probably
Mhm.
because he's like not sexy, but he finds himself sexy.
Okay, so it's the
I think,
self-belief.
yeah, yeah, self belief. I'm trying to remember whether how nuanced his character was and whether he had any insecurities that came across. But no, I think just because he's just a spy with bad teeth and he has some corny lines, and that's just who he's not putting it on. I don't think.
Yeah, I like that. To thine own self be true, as it were.
Mm.
Are you ready for our word for the game?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. So, casualty, Casualty, casualty,
Casualty.
casualty. I have an idea of where I think we could go, but if you have a
Okay.
notion, I leave it to you first because I don't want to
No,
bulldoze the guess.
hit me with it. I haven't got anything that's just come straight up.
Okay, so my instinct is to say that it is a horror film
Yeah.
that is set in a clothing manufacturing plant,
Yeah.
and they've found a cheaper way to make t-shirts that aren't for
Uh-huh.
working. So they're casualties, but
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love a
people
pun.
keep
Yeah.
dying off, so there's casualties as well.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. That's a good concept.
Okay,
I
so
like that.
great. Super, super, super. So that's the basic outline. Who do we want to be following in this? Who's our lead character, do you reckon?
So I reckon perhaps it's like a young t-shirt maker on the production line who is like really bought into the idea of like being able to work your way up through, like has the rose tinted glasses on and sort of maybe overlooks the fact that they've been treated like badly and paid appallingly, and has still got that like fresh optimism of youth.
Mhm,
Should be
mhm.
like, maybe if I do a good job making these t-shirts, like everything will work out all right.
Yeah, okay, I like that. So a young idealistic person.
Yeah, young idealistic t-shirt maker. I don't know what the technical term for a
I
t-shirt
was gonna
smith,
say
shirt smith.
seamstress seems a little horrible, but might be the most accurate.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I guess the cheaper the t-shirt, the less seams, eh?
yeah, pretty much it's like a
Yeah.
print. It's just
Mm.
going. So do we want them in a t-shirt factory? Do we want them to be making bespoke t-shirts? Because you could do a Scooby Doo thing that at the end it turns out that it's the big factory that's like trying to get rid of the little guy that is like cutting
Uh-huh.
into their profits. Or it could be a metaphor for capitalism eating you if they work at the factory, you know?
Do we want them in a factory, or is it a bespoke t-shirt manufacturer?
Yeah, like as a seamstress. I feel like going with just like them working at the factory probably makes more sense, eh?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's a wider. Although I think everything is a metaphor for capitalism in some ways, eh?
True,
Can't
true. Once you see
can't,
it, you can't unsee
can't
it.
escape it. Yeah,
Yeah. It's like the code of the Matrix.
yeah.
But, okay, so they're young, idealistic, and they think that if they can just do well enough that they can get
Maybe they're
further.
gonna, work their way up the chain into making the like. What would you want to be like? What's the top of the? What would you really want to be making if you're an ambitious young t-shirt maker?
I would say definitely I think they could be having kind of small town dreams of, like, I just wanna run the factory floor, I just wanna work
Yeah,
my way up, get my pension, it's
yeah,
miraculously a union job, that sort of
yeah.
thing. Um, I would say as well though, what if they start introducing a new line of T-shirts, and they're like, "We've never had such breathable, perfect T-shirts before, but
Yeah,
also employees are going missing."
yeah.
And it's kind of a Sweeney Todd situation where
Uh-huh.
they're making the T-shirts out of people.
Of the employee, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. Because they're very breathable, perhaps because they maybe they work in such bad conditions they lose weight really quickly, and the skin is quite, you know.
Oh, so I like that as well as
Yeah.
a concept of, like, they bring in all these people that are, like, that they shrink down as there's all this extra skin, like, they're almost
Yeah, it's just
reverse
like
fattening them up. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Maybe like the Buffalo Bill Silence of the Lambs thing where there's gotta be a bit of yeah.
Or else it gets the hose again, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I like that a lot, and then I like this idea of this person they are successfully work their way up.
Yeah.
And then they make the realization about the new T-shirts.
Uh-huh.
And then they're faced with a choice of, like, are they gonna go on, or are they gonna try and shut everything down, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Which
like
is
our
always a good like point, isn't it? It's an interesting point. Like so like Breaking Bad or something, like how much choice did he have
Mhm.
really? You could argue he had none, or you could argue he had a lot.
Yeah,
It's never
for
as
sure.
simplistic as just walking away or not, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree. Yeah, I think that'd be good. What do you think they do once they realize what's going on?
Once they realize what's going on,
Yeah, once they realize that the shirts are made of people.
I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe do they try and investigate and gather evidence to stop it, or do they perhaps get a little bit of greed and perhaps try to blackmail the person at the top whose job they want?
Mm, mm, mm.
Or and I guess does this character is this character maybe somehow immune from being made into a shirt? Maybe they have particularly robust skin that's not very breathable.
They're thick-skinned, yeah.
Yeah, grew up on a diet of bone broth or something.
Bone broth, thick-skinned, nothing bothers them.
Yeah.
Um, I like the 2 ideas that you really first at the beginning because they both require an investigation and getting
Uh-huh.
evidence. And I like the idea of us not knowing whether or not they're gonna blackmail this person or whether or not they're gonna take it to the
Yeah.
authorities up until, like, kind of the last minute, but the whole 3rd act is them getting evidence
Yeah.
towards it and, like, doing surveillance, going through the surveillance cameras and that sort of thing. Um, however, I like the idea of them at the end trying to kill this person and they're not able to because of their
Mhm.
skin being too thick
Yeah.
and what that means for the fiction that we're reading, you know? Um, I like that. So I think they get caught, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they try to kill this person and it breaks up the machine so they can't make any more
Yeah,
t-shirts.
so maybe it's like a thing like that, they thought they did away with this worker, but this worker survives or something perhaps.
Yeah, I like that. Ooh. Ooh. Is this too weird? We'll see. If the worker gets trapped in the machine and is writing messages out on the T-shirts,
Ah, that's a great idea.
like, "Help, this
Um
corporation is
that's a
killing me."
it's a great idea. There's one of my favorite authors is this guy called Avram Davidson. He's got a bunch of short stories, and
Mhm.
I think one of them is called "Help, I Am Dr. Morris Goldpepper," and it's about a dentist who's being forced to make dentures for aliens so they can pass as humans, but he's writing little messages on the dentures and making like planned obsolescence, so they'll have to go to an Earth dentist to get them fixed at some point, and the dentist will read the message.
Oh, that's very good.
I love the idea of that. Yeah, that this worker being trapped in the machine and having to send messages on the t-shirts is fantastic. I think that's a great angle.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I think
Mm.
also with that, then I think, of course, the dramatic Twilight Zone and ending is that the T-shirts start selling really well with this anti-capitalist message on it.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's just the end of it is like, oh no, this is the opposite of what I wanted.
yeah. This
Um,
shirt is made from a human, and
yep.
it's just like, no, yeah,
Yeah, brother, aren't all of them?
yeah,
Like.
yeah.
Okay, I like that a lot. Who do you think should play the lead person?
Mm, that's a good question.
Mhm. Leave it up to you.
Trying to think of like it needs to be someone youngish or at least youth adjacent. Eh?
Mhm.
I mean, I really like Miles Teller,
Oh,
but
sure, yeah.
he's maybe less of an interesting face, or like what do we? I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying to
fine.
think of other youth.
I think Miles Teller is an acceptable,
Yeah,
eh, yeah, yeah, that's great, and he's kind of got that everyman thing where he's like,
yeah,
he's not I was gonna say something quite rude, like, he's not physically remarkable, but,
yeah.
he's, like, handsome, but it's not like but he's got that everyman sort of thing, he's not like, Chris Pine where you're like, "Okay, this guy's never had a job."
Yeah. No, he's just he could be a regular person in your friend group. It's
Mhm.
very charismatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I also think, that would be good. I do we wanna give him, like, a home life at all, or is it just about the
I mean, why is he so motivated to make shirts?
Yeah.
Maybe his. I mean, is there some sort of thing like maybe his parents had disappeared in a clothing factory years before and they never finished a shirt, or what's
Where my mind goes, I think family is good. Where my mind goes is that, like, he's a 3rd generation immigrant from
yeah,
someplace, and his parents and his grandparents had, like up until moving to the States, his
yeah,
family were all, like, clothing makers,
yeah.
and so he's trying to, like, "I'm getting back to my roots, trying to do
Mm.
people proud."
Yeah, get the family kind of like
Mhm.
trade reestablished.
I almost like the idea, though, of what you were saying as well, like, his parents, like, being somehow invested. I almost like the idea of his dad having or his mom having worked in the factory
Mm.
and got fired or something, and then he's trying to, like or I know, I like what you said, actually. No, I like the idea of, like, them disappearing and then him trying to, like, figure out why years and years later. I
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
you could almost do both. Hey, I do really like that idea of the kind of and third generation immigrant and trying to sort of bring back the family
Mhm.
trade, because that is a thing. Often like really great craftspeople. It's like a skill that's passed down,
Yeah.
like through teaching and yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So he's there, he's trying to do his grandparents proud, and he's also trying to find his, like, missing dad almost,
yeah.
I think. Um,
Which
and
means maybe his dad ends up being in the machine as well or something.
I like that as an idea that
Yeah.
his dad was also ooh, maybe his dad is the machine. Like, he was the first
Mm.
person to be able to because of his thick skin, he was able to, like, make the press that made he and another person fell into this machine, and his
Yeah,
body pressed against this other person in such a way that it made a perfect fabric.
yeah,
Yeah, so I like that as well. So it's kind of like also this weird sort of, you're doomed to repeat the mistakes of your parents,
yeah.
you know, why?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak movie we're making, hey?
Yeah, it is. Bleak's great though. I mean,
Yep. It is.
I often read The Road by Cormac McCarthy on Christmas Day, It's like my own personal tradition.
Freak ass. Oh,
Yeah,
oh boy, that's grim, man.
yeah.
Oh
It
my
always makes
god.
like bleak stuff makes me feel better, because I feel like it just puts my problems in perspective.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm like,
No.
well, I'm not like in the witch,
True, true.
I don't. There's like I think pretty sure the guy above me is selling meth, but
Mhm.
I'm not living in close proximity to like a goat that may be Satan. That's kind of
That's
levels of suffering.
yeah, true, true. That is absolutely well worth it. I remember when
Yeah.
I had a very similar moment several times. Like when I was reading the Dark Tower series, I was like, at least I'm not
Ah, yeah.
trapped in another dimension where there's like no food. Like at least
Mm.
I'm okay. Really does end up putting things in perspective.
I've read all those too, not for some time, but I think I've read most of Stephen King's books.
Can I tell you something, Joel?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only series of his that I've ever read.
Ah, right, cool. Okay.
Which is, like, apparently crazy to most people because that's the one where he threw all the other stuff he's ever written in one book, and I was like, "Oh, this."
Yeah,
I was like, "I don't get any of these references, but okay, cool."
yeah. He has all these kind of recurring like Easter eggs and recurring characters, somewhat like
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure the guy from the Stand,
Yeah.
like the big bag from the Stand, is also in the Dark Tower
Mhm.
series from memory. And yeah,
Yeah.
they all kind of exist in the same sort of slightly askew universe.
Yeah. Very weird. It was not very
Mm.
weird. It's good, but it was, like, weird going people going, "Oh, that's Randall Flagg from The Stand." I'm like, "I've
Yeah.
never read The Stand. I don't know what that means."
Oh man, if you ever consider reading The Stand, I'd recommend the complete and uncut edition because when it was
Okay.
first published, I think from memory, don't quote me on this, may be incorrect, but it was too physically long to be like the amount of pages to be manufactured.
Mm.
Like they would have had to break it into two books.
Mhm.
So they and also because he's not the most concise person, which I relate to very hard. Like,
That's
yeah,
fair.
so there's just this whole all these this extra detail that's in the complete and uncut edition that's not essential to the plot, like these kind of side things, but they're
Mhm.
just worth reading. I reckon he was the first person that I read that does that thing like Game of Thrones did really well of like setting you up to care about a bunch of characters or a character and then just killing them off suddenly, and you're like, oh shit, nobody's safe. Yeah, it's
Nobody
not
is
just like the token pizza guy or something, or all the sort of little bit actors in like your classic horror movie
mhm.
that get like offed really early. It like can be like the main person. It's
Yeah,
like wow, that was
that was yeah, for sure, that I can definitely see, that does up the stakes in a way that is really,
mm,
really beautiful, and that's one of my main things as well with a lot of the films coming out these days is, like, they're number X in a series, so by the
mm,
time where the character ends up, you know? Like, in that Black Widow movie, I knew that she died another time, so the whole time there's no stakes. I'm like, "Well,
yeah, right,
she's
yeah.
fine." But anyhow, I like this guy getting trapped in a machine. Is his mom still around, do you think, this guy, this, character we've made? Miles Teller?
Yeah, maybe he has one parent around, maybe his
Mhm,
mum's still around, and maybe she doesn't want him to be working
mhm,
in that industry. So
yeah.
maybe he's kind of leading a bit of a double life to a certain extent. Not in defiance of her, but maybe he's sort of like I mean it is in defiance, but not and he's not angry about it, but he
Mhm,
just feels
mhm.
really compelled to do this thing that he's, been told not to do.
Yeah. I like
Maybe
that a
she
lot.
knows something and sort of like hidden it from him.
Mhm, mhm. I think that might be a good, like, middle twist where
Yeah.
we just the whole time she's been like, "Don't go, don't go, don't go." And he's like, "I'm gonna go, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go, I'm gonna go." And then it's revealed that his father used to work at this factory, this exact same factory,
Yeah.
you know? And he's like, "Oh, no. Okay, well, gosh," and the gosh is what he says, of course. He's not he's a very reasonable person. But he's like, "Oh, no, it's terrible." And then he goes, "Well, this just, inspires more fervor because he's like, now I have to know what happened to my father."
Yeah.
And then
So
he
maybe
ends up in
she's
the
kind of
machine.
thinking of withholding information because you feel that it's unsafe for the person to know, but actually that can
Mhm.
sometimes backfire spectacularly.
Yes, absolutely. And then I think once he gets turned into the machine and starts printing out the T-shirts that become wildly
Mm.
popular, what do you think happens to his mom?
I mean, maybe she unwittingly wears one of these T-shirts, and maybe she's the person that ends up discovering, like figuring out that he is trapped in there or something. It would be quite a.
Mhm.
I mean, you could do almost do like a barbarian thing of like having him getting sucked into the machine, and then the sort of plot follows his mum for a while, and her son's gone missing, and her husband's been missing for a long time, and she's sort of just going through the motions, trying to chip on with life, and for some reason ends up with this T-shirt,
And she goes, "That's my
and then
son's
maybe,
handwriting."
yeah, maybe she eventually figures it out somehow. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's his handwriting.
Oh, I like that a lot, and then we're following her, and
Yeah,
then does she destroy the plant, do you reckon? Or does she, like what does she do about the information once she figures it out?
I actually really like that. I like the idea of the mum being the person who, if there is going to be a happy ending where someone saves the day, quite like that.
Mhm. I do
I feel
too.
like that's something that's not used enough.
Mhm. I think so too.
Yeah,
Except for if it's Mars needs moms or whatever. No, I think I I do think that, either she blows it up, right?
yeah,
Or she jumps in the machine too, and then that clogs
yeah.
it, and that destroys it. Do we want her to commit self-sacrifice, or do you want her to, like, walk out and be like, "And it's broken, and we're done?"
That's a good question, eh? Do you
Mhm,
want the mum to survive and like the son to live at the expense of the mother, or do you want them
mhm,
both to live, or do they all die? Or
mhm. I
yeah,
think
I
we
don't know.
definitely have to
There's
blow up the factory, like, it
You got
has
to
to
blow
be
it up. Yeah,
destroyed.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can't gonna. Well, it depends how much you want a sequel.
True, true.
Maybe this. Yeah. We
Maybe
just leave something, and there's some possibility of it. Eh? Maybe the blueprints exist. Maybe
this
the
is
final
why I
scene is
like good.
the factory is blowing up, and you just see like a page of the blueprint with charred edges, but it's still very readable, just kind of drifting away in the wind or something. You gotta leave these things open for a sequel because capitalism, right?
Yeah.
If this is a hit, if this is a smash, we've
Mhm.
got to we've got to like ride those sequels out until it is just awful.
You're true, and this is why
Like
I came to
Saw, I'm
you.
assuming. I mean, I gave up early, but
That's fair.
I'm
I
assuming the latest Saws weren't that great.
I think I've
I don't know.
seen one Saw. I've seen one
Yeah,
Saw, but I
yeah.
couldn't tell you about this. But this is why I came to you, Joel, because you have a keen business mind,
Oh,
and you
absolutely.
can
Yeah,
make
yeah.
this movie.
Tyrant in the making, business tycoon. Yeah.
Tyrant in the making is very good.
When I
Um,
was and when I was 14, I remember I bought a metal magazine, like a punk and metal magazine,
mhm.
and I remember selling one of the posters out of it to this goth kid for more than I'd paid for the magazine. I still feel guilty about that now. I think I wanted to buy cigarettes or something, so I had to get a hustle.
That's so good. Oh, that's
Yeah,
a classic little imp thing to do. That's so good.
yeah. It's a good poster though, to be fair. I think it was like a coal chamber poster or something.
Oh, very cool. That's very
Yeah,
good. I wish I was that enterprising as a child. Maybe I'd
yeah.
have
Oh
stocks
man,
and bombs.
I don't
Um,
know if that. I don't think that's even been public knowledge now. So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me.
yeah, I hope not. I
He
mean,
was a nice guy. Hopefully it hasn't. Hopefully this isn't one of those movie tropes. But he realized years ago and he's been trying to track me down or something.
sure, sure, sure. I think, you could probably pay him the difference at this point in your
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
though, I think you're good for it. Also, you
yeah,
got a good
yeah,
poster.
yeah. I'll try and con him into taking another poster. So
I like that a lot. Okay, so the mom is about to I think we almost you see her about to like jump or something, and then it cuts to the outside of the factory.
yeah,
She gets there, she sees what happens, and it cuts to the outside of the factory, and then it kind of like folds in on itself. Not like
Mm.
supernaturally, but like a beam gives away and it just kinda
Yeah,
crumples,
yeah, yeah.
and you're not sure what happened. What do you think?
Yeah. I like that. This is a little bit vague, eh? That's good.
Mhm, mhm.
Maybe there's sort of some hint that she survived afterwards or
Yeah,
that he did.
mhm. Um, cool. I like it. Casualty. Do you wanna
Casualty, yeah.
do a quick lightning round? Or do you
Yeah,
wanna
yeah, sure. So just explain that again. That's where you get a word and we
yeah,
make a film pitch. Yeah.
we each get 1 word,
Yes.
and we each do a different pitch on the word. Like, for
Brilliant.
example,
Yeah.
I have sheet, and this is about a for me, sheet means that it is a film about the KKK and one guy who's really bad at being in the KKK, and he keeps bringing a fitted sheet.
It's great. And it's got a real high thread count.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
maybe
so it's, like, really hard. He's making it far too hard for himself, yeah.
it's got to be washed in detergent because he has a lot of allergies to certain scents and stuff. Like it's got to be washed in like very organic, ethically sourced detergent.
And he's just, like, really bad at being at the KKK. He's trying, though. His pappy was, his grandpappy was, and now he's trying, but he's really bad at it.
Yes.
That's Sheet. What is your movie based off of Sheet, the word?
So I reckon my movie based off of Sheet is like literally about a guy's bed sheet, and this is like this sheet has been with this guy since he was like a kid, right? And he's maybe has poor hygiene and he never changes it, and it's a long suffering sheet. You know, it's been through a whole lot of awkward sexual encounters and like many solo encounters, and he spilt crumbs on it and not cleaned it up, and it's stained, and the sheet uh, really loves him. It's sentient, this sheet, and then maybe one day um, somebody buys him a new set of sheets, and this just breaks the sheet. So it's this horror movie about this sheet who was too attached to its owner, and
Mm.
maybe starts off as being the sort of you empathize with this poor sheep, but then maybe this guy has unwittingly created a monster.
I like that.
Yeah,
Somehow enough of his DNA has gotten into it and is fused to it, and
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
become a sentient being. I like that a lot.
Mm.
Nice. Okay, next word is reluctance. Oh,
Reluctance.
reluctance. For me, it's about a young girl who's enrolled in ballet classes and learns
Uh-huh.
to eventually gain confidence through the art of dance. And it's like a really sappy movie full of
Good second
saccharin.
movie.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Like
What about you?
Matilda's one of my favorites.
Oh,
It's a great kind of second movie. That's great.
mhm.
Man, I just keep going down grim paths. Reluctance. I reckon this is like there's an object. Maybe it's like some guy finds like something in a thrift store, and he can some figures out he can somehow use it to maybe alter things or make luck go in his way. But each time he uses it, there's a consequence. So I just started off with a pun, which is like
Yeah, I
re
got
and
you.
luck, repetitive
Yep.
luck, and then but maybe each time the consequence gets worse.
Ooh. So he can get whatever he wants, but there's some sort of physical
Yeah, maybe he
toll.
doesn't
Yeah. Mhm.
realize it first. It's sort of like a butterfly effect type thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
perhaps.
Yeah, I like
He
that.
just sort of realizes like maybe he has like a bet running on a sports team or something, and they're losing the
Mhm.
All Blacks, and I don't know if this makes me a shitty person, but as a side note, I'm kind of chuffed each time New Zealand loses the rugby, but probably does maybe.
I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, maybe maybe he sort of starts noticing the correlation, but he's in too deep because he's kind of learned to rely on it rather than learning how
Oh,
to navigate difficult situations or what have you.
I like that. I like that a lot. I love when someone's in too deep over their head and they can't go
Mm,
back and they're just trying to manage. I love a movie like that.
yeah.
Ooh. Ooh, um, that's no good. We're gonna go with housewife.
Housewife.
Housewife. So mine is a horror film,
Uh-huh.
and it's about this couple that goes to re wallpaper their home, and through you the slowly the wallpaper starts to consume the wife, and the wife becomes the house. She is
Oh yeah.
the housewife.
Brilliant. Fuck
And
yeah.
yeah. And then this guy's like, I have to like I still love my wife, but she's a house. What do I do? No. I said I had traditional values, but this is crazy.
Oh man, yeah, maybe it's like the area is they're trying to put a motorway through it or something, and so he's just like, he just love, he doesn't want his house to be taken down because that's the wife.
That's so tragic. Oh, for you, housewife.
Housewife.
Yeah.
Man, I just like it goes straight to a horror again. Um, I feel like maybe trying to think of a subversive take on it. The classic one would be just like somebody who, for all kind of outward appearances, is like a housewife, but is maybe like a murderer.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Maybe no, no, maybe it's based on the recent, maybe it's a sort of like loosely based on the recent Erin Patterson case in Australia where she's allegedly poisoned her ex and some of his family with mushrooms. Did you hear about that?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
remember
She
now.
made a
Oh,
beef Wellington and a whole bunch of them went to hospital, and yeah,
ooh, that's terrible.
and it's got to have Michael Douglas in it. Just
Perfect.
mm.
No notes. Well, this has been heaps of fun, Joel. Do you have anything that you want to mention to people who listen to this episode of the podcast, like any projects or anything?
You could give me a follow on Instagram, which is Bold Jinsen. So it's my first and last name with the initial swap round, which is BOELJINSEN. I'm trying to get better at promoting my socials because I want to get a show in the Comedy Fest next year. Um,
Understandable.
yeah,
Don't we all?
because yeah, when I went and talked to them about it, they like were saying social media is a big thing. So yeah,
Mm,
I've got
okay.
to stop actually just liking memes and start trying to put something out there, I guess.
Fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
other than big projects, no, I've just got a bunch of stand up. Oh, look out for my hour show at the comedy festival. Touch wood, fingers crossed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're manifesting it into existence.
Mm.
100%. Oh, well, you heard it here, folks. Also, folks, if you want to go to tristan.substack.com, you can tristanmiller.substack.com, excuse me. You can get early access into the video as well of this episode. And then also I write film reviews sometimes when there's not strikes on. Yeah, there you go. That's also what you can do. Again, thank you so much, Joel, for doing
Pleasure.
great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, likewise.